Okay, so chapter 37, the Alloids. Ephialtes and Otis were the bastard son of Iphimedeia, a daughter of Triops. She had fallen in love with Poseidon and used to crouch on the seashore, scooping up the waves in her hands and pouring them into her lap. Thus she got herself a child. Ephialtes and Otis were, however, called the Alloids because Iphimedeia subsequently married Alois, who had been made king of Boeotian, Aesopia by his father Helios. The Alloids grew 1 cubit in breadth and 1 fathom in height every year, and when they were 9 years old, being the 9 cubits broad and 9 fathoms high, declared war on Olympus. Ephialtes swore by the river Styx to outrage Hera, and Otis similarly swore to outrage Artemis. B. Deciding that Ares, the god of war, must be their first capture, they went to Thrace, disarmed him, bound him, and confined him in a brazen vessel, which they hid in the house of their stepmother, Erebora, Iphimedeia being now dead. Then their siege of Olympus began. They made a mound for its assault by piling Mount Pelion on Mount Ossa. Further threatened to cast mountains into the sea until it became dry land, though the lowlands were swamped by the waves. Their confidence was unquenchable because it had been prophesied that no other men nor any gods could kill them. C. On Apollo's advice, Artemis sent the Alloids a message. If they raised their siege, she would meet them in the island of Naxos and there submit to Otis's embraces. Otis was overjoyed, but Ephialtes, not having received a similar message from Hera, grew jealous and angry. A cruel quarrel broke out on Naxos, where they went together. Ephialtes insisting that the term should be rejected unless, as the elder of the two, he were the first to enjoy Artemis. The argument had reached its height when Artemis herself appeared in the form of a white doe, and each Alloid, seizing his javelin, made ready to prove himself the better marksman by flinging it at her. As she darted between them, swift as the wind, they let fly, and each pierced the other through and through. Thus both perished, and the prophecy that they could not be killed by other men or by gods was justified. Their bodies were carried back from interment in Boeotian Athedon, but the Naxians still pay their heroic honors. They are remembered also as the founders of Boeotian Ascra and as the first mortals to worship the muses of Halcyon. D. The siege of Olympus being thus raised, Hermes went in search of Ares and forced Erebora to release him, half dead, from the brazen vessel. But the souls of the Alloids descended to Tartarus, where they were securely tied to a pillar with knotted cords of living vipers. There they sit, back to back, and the nymph Styx perches grimly on the pillar top as a reminder of their unfulfilled oaths. Footers 1. This is another popular version of the Giants' Revolt. The name Ephialtes, the assault on Olympus, the threat of Hera, and the prophecy of their invulnerability occur in both versions. Ephialtes and Otis, sons of the threshing floor, by her who strengthens the genitals, grandsons of Three Face, namely Hecate, and worshippers of the wild muses personify the incubus or orgiastic nightmare which stifles and outrages sleeping women. Like the nightmare in British legend, they are associated with the number 9. The myth is confused by a shadowy historical episode reported by Diodorus Siculus. He says that Alus and Thessalian sent his sons to liberate their mother Iphimedeia and their sister Pancratis, all strength, from the Thracians, who had carried them off to Naxos. Their expedition was successful, but they quarreled about the partition of the island and killed each other. However, though Stephanus of Byzantine records that the city of Aloim is Thessaly was named after the Alloids, early mythographers make them Boeotians. 2. The twins' mutual murder recalls the eternal rivalry for the love of the white goddess between the sacred king and his Tanist, who alternately meet death at each other's hands. They were called sons of the threshing floor and escape destruction by Zeus's lightning, connects them with the corn cult rather than the oak cult. Their punishment in Tartarus, like that of Theseus and Pirithous, seems to be deduced from an ancient calendar symbol showing the twins' heads turned back to back on either side of a column as they sit on the chair of forgetfulness. The column on which the death in life goddess perches marks the height of summer when the sacred king's reign ends and the Tanist begins. In Italy, this same symbol became two-headed Janus, but the Italian New Year was in January, not at the helical rising of the two-headed Sirius. Helicleal. 3. Ares's imprisonment for 13 months is an unrelated mythic fragment of uncertain date, referring perhaps to the armistice of one whole year. The Pelagian year had 13 months, agreed upon between the Thessalo-Boeotians and Thracians, with warlike tokens of both nations entrusted to a brazen vessel in a temple of Hera, Erebor. Pelion, Ossa, and Olympus are all mountains to the east of Thessaly, with a distant view of the Thracian Chersones, where the war terminated by the Artemis may have been fought.